Aloha and welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishy. My name is Lucia, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Pearl of the Pacific. And as I often forget to mention, you can find the podcast on YouTube or on my website, which is pearlofthepacific.info. And there's also a group on Ravelry, Knitted Paradise Podcast. So come join in. That's where we do a lot of the knit along prize threads, so you can post pictures of your finished objects and such. So, yay! It is Sunday morning, November 9th, and this is episode 48. That seems like a lot. I mean, I have been doing this for a year, so 48 is pretty good. It means I've only missed a few weeks, so it's not too bad. Anyway, let's get started. We have below the conch shell. We have some very small on the island section. We have a few things that have set sail, some of which you can see and some of which you can't. And I did get some stuff from the mainland, and we have some flora and fauna and from my holiday this week. So it's going to be, hopefully it won't be too long. There's not a ton to show, but we have stuff in all the sections, which is kind of fun. So below the conch shell, we have, now that it's November, I hope that you all have your swap package. And so we're going to do an informal swap knit along. I'm just going to continue the current thread that's going in Ravelry for the swap. So as you knit up your things, please post photos there, either in progress or finished. We'd love to see what you're doing with your yarn. Also, just post a picture of your package. I want to see what it looks like. So, yay! We also have the sweater knit along coming up for the Save the Children Pins and Needles Challenge, which will start November 12th. So I'll put up a thread with some information so that you can, go check some stuff out. And but the official knit along won't start to the 12th of November. So I guess that's this week. Maybe I'll do a special episode on the 12th. Let's see what else we have. And that the prize, it doesn't have to be an adult size sweater. I forgot to say that. It can be any size sweater. It can be an ornament for your Christmas tree, or just an ornament to hang on the wall, or maybe it's a sweater for a teddy bear, all the way up to an adult size sweater, and anything in between. So don't be too concerned with knitting an adult size sweater. So hopefully that will be a lot of fun. And we also have the upcoming accessories knit along, which will be in December. And I forgot to mention, the prize for the sweater knit along will be a $50 gift certificate to Webs. And I will also be giving away some copy of my patterns that I'm working on designing, so that you can knit them up for the accessories challenge. Not challenge, the accessories knit along. It's not really a challenge. You can make it a challenge if you want. So yeah, so the accessories knit along will be in December, and it's any sort of accessory. I know a lot of people knit accessories for Christmas as gifts, or Hanukkah or whatever other holidays you celebrate in the holiday season. And so I thought that'd be a fun time to do that. But you can also knit them for yourself. I don't really care. It's time of the year when it's getting pretty chilly. Here it's getting pretty chilly. It's hitting freezing pretty much. At night, not typically during the day if it's sunny, but it's usually a high of 40 something, low of 30 something. So yeah, it's getting cold. Kind of gotten used to it over the 4 years I've been here. This will be my 5th winter ever. We'll talk about this. We'll just talk about it now. Why not? I grew up in Hawaii, and there's no seasons there. There's maybe gets a little cooler and then it gets a little warmer, but it really doesn't change that much. And so I always had a fascination with the four seasons and living in a place with four seasons. So when I moved here, that was kind of half the reason of moving here. The other half was graduate school. And so I really enjoyed the winters, kind of sadistically. I really like snow. I still am a little fascinated by snow. The first time I saw snow fall from the sky was when I was visiting colleges my senior year in high school, and I visited one in Wisconsin. And when we landed in Chicago for that trip, my dad and I, it was snowing, and all I could do was just stare at it. And he's, trying to get the rent-a-car and stuff, and settle things, and I'm just like, snow. I was a little in awe. But when I was up visiting the school in Wisconsin, I had been meeting with someone, and then we went to a window because he was touring me around the building, and I'm like, oh my God, it's snowing. He said, you look just like a little kid. I said, this is the second time I've seen snow fall from the sky. And he said, you'll fit in just fine here. It's not where I ended up going, but I really did like that school. Anyway, so that's my slight fascination with snow. But I've discovered that over the 4 years I've been here, I've really acclimatized to the temperature. Like yesterday, I think it was, I asked my husband, I'm like, oh, what's the temperature outside? He's like, oh, it's like mid-40s. I'm like, oh, I'll just wear a sweatshirt. In Hawaii, mid-40s is like, oh my God, we're all gonna die. 65 is really cold in Hawaii. So I'm like, sweater will be fine. Totally acclimatized. It's kind of weird. I remember last year it hit 22 and I thought that was warm. I'm like, unzip the coat, don't wear a hat, it's only 22. Anyway, let's get back to knitting rather than talking about winter. Although winter is coming very quickly. We're forecast to get snow next week, which I'm kind of excited about and kind of not excited about, so we'll see. All right, on the island, I have very little that I've actually worked on. I still have the bag, which I need to finish. I still have my other pair of socks, which I need to work on. And I have these pair of socks, which have gotten oddly tangled in the bag. These are the Artichoke socks by Humphrey, and they're out of Cascade Heritage, which is their sock yarn in purple. What I'm calling purple people eater. It might be purple hyacinth, I looked up, but I like purple people eater. So this is the artichoke pattern, and I'm going to use these to talk about something later on in the flora and fauna section, a question that someone asked. So those gotten some attention, and the thing that has gotten the most attention is my fingerless mitt design and my hat design. And the fingerless mitt design is done. I finished knitting them and I wrote up the pattern, and I have one test knitter. So if anyone else is interested in test knitting, please let me know. I put up a thread in the Ravelry group. You can also just PM me and say, hey, I'm interested. And I just have the basic pattern written up right now. It has all the information, but it doesn't have like pictures and pretty formatting and whatever. It's formatted enough that you know what you're doing. I did do a tiny chart because I like tiny charts, and then I did the written pattern because it's really simple. It's a textured pattern, and I kind of took a few textured patterns and combined them, so it's cool. I really like how it turned out. I'm not going to show them just yet. I also finished my hat. I finished it, and then I realized I didn't like the crown decreases, so I ripped out the crown decreases and I'm starting them over. But I know what I want to do, and the pattern is mostly written up. So if you're interested in testing that, also let me know. And that pattern should be done in the next couple days, and I can send it off. Oh, what else? I'm then going to do a cowl, which is slowly forming in my head, so hopefully I'll start knitting that very soon. And all of these are done in DK. I did them out of Dramaturg, which is based by Leading Men Fiber Arts. I can show the yarn. And this is it. This is the Poseidon colorway. I'd call this a heavy DK / light worsted. So you could also do this out of a worsted. So we might try some worsted in my stash and see what I have. But these, yeah, I'm not going to show them. But I've got the mitts and the hat in there. And yeah, so that's kind of what I've been working on. I'm really happy with how they turned out. The hat is a lace pattern, and the cowl will be the texture and the lace together. So they'll go as a set. I think I'm going to do the pattern separately, but I might do like a discount if you get them all together, like as a collection. And I may add a shawl later on, like an actual shawl, full-size shawl later on. But for now, I'm going to do like a cowl thing. And yeah. The other thing, I didn't have it in my list because I just cast this on, is I'm knitting a sweater for my husband. Also out of Leading Men Fiber Arts, Dramaturg. Can you tell I like this base? Yes, I love this base. And this is it. Ooh, exciting, right? Yeah, I cast it on, and that's it. And these stitch markers I just use to help me when I cast on, to help me count. So I know in between them is 20 stitches. And so this is the trick I've learned. I guess I can share my little tip here. That as I usually use the knitted cast on for long cast ons, because then I don't have to gauge how long to make the tail, and I just like the way this looks, and so that's what I use for long cast ons. Actually, I kind of just use that as my default cast on. I know a lot of people like the long tail cast on. I like it too, but I really like the knitted cast on. It's really simple. I like the way it looks. And yeah, so as I cast on, like here's the end. So I'll cast on, depending on how long I have to go, I'll either do it every 10 or every 20. This time I did every 20. So I cast on 20, put a marker, cast on 20, put a marker, cast on 20, put a marker. And then I can just go, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Then I know, okay, that's 100. Sometimes I'll do every 50, but then I have to count for longer. So this just helps me. And then as I knit, I just take them out because I don't really need a stitch marker every 20 stitches. So that's that. I contemplated doing this for Nene Swimo and also for the Pins and Needles challenge. Not sure how far I'm going to get, but we'll see. I guess I'll do my From the Mainland now, because I ordered this yarn at Vogue, but it arrived in the mail this week. So this is Darkest Hour. It's a very, very nice black from Leading Men Fiber Arts in their Dramaturg DK. And the thing I like about it is it's not pitch black, it's not midnight black, but it's not very, very dark gray. It is definite black, but it's still got some tonal variations that give it some depth and some interest, which makes that nice when you're knitting with it, because it is going to be miles and miles of black. But he wanted a black sweater, so he's going to get a black sweater because he appreciates my sweaters. Well, I knit them that fit him. The last one I knit him, I still need to fix. So hopefully I'll get to that, but soon. All right, thing I finished, which you saw last week, but it wasn't blocked, is my Trillian. Ta-da! So it is blocked now, and it is very long. I think it's a little longer than my wingspan. Yeah, it's a little longer than my wingspan. And I did block it out this way a lot, so I did get a little more depth than I had before, which was nice. Because it's not a very deep shawl. It's definitely a shawlette in terms of the depth of it. But I really like how it turned out. There's a little bit of pooling there in the middle, which I wasn't super happy about. I like this part, how it wasn't pooling, except for right here. But that's kind of okay because the yellow didn't end up with the yellow when I knit back. So it's like it's kind of pooling, but not really. Because when I knit one way, it was the yellow, and I knit back, it was the blue. So it's not as obvious as this huge section of yellow. I did actually pull out a tiny bit of the yarn so that I could break up the pooling for the rest, which is why it stopped slightly suddenly. It's like, I don't want this to continue. But I really like how it turned out. This is another Crafty Girl strong sock in the I Can Fix It colorway, which is a Wreck-It Ralph Fix It Felix reference. So, yay! I love these colors. And so that is that shawl. It's now nicely blocked. And really the only other thing I finished were my fingerless mitt. And my hat once, but now I have to rip it out. I did knit my hat. I started it twice and ripped it out, and then I started a third time, and I'm finally happy with it. So, third time's the charm, I guess. I just realized the birds are really loud, and I'm sorry about that. I did cover them in hopes that they would be quiet, but apparently they have something very important to talk about. So, I hope you enjoy the bird sounds. All right, that's it for Set Sail. From the mainland, we already did Flora and Fauna. So someone asked me how I convert my patterns to being toe up when they are written for cuff down. Because a lot of sock patterns are written for cuff down, and as you know, I don't like knitting socks cuff down, but I like the patterns that are written cuff down. So sometimes what I do is I just use the stitch pattern as written, which means that it turns out upside down from what it originally is supposed to be. So these were written as a cuff down sock. So if I was knitting them cuff down, this would be the cuff, and then this would be the pattern. So what I did was, as it's written, you start here at the bottom of the pattern and, go up. So instead of reversing the pattern so that when I, knit them this way, they would end up looking like this, I just reversed the pattern. And so now they look like this, which I actually like better. With the stuff going, out from the toe and, out from the middle instead of going into the middle. I don't know, maybe that's just a personal preference, but I like them better this way. So that's, oh, no, what's going on? Cancel. Sorry, I must have clicked on something. And so that's what I do with some of them. With some of them, I do reverse engineer the pattern, and I just, where it says SSK, I make one. And where it says, or knit two together, I'll make one left or make one right. And where it says, make one, I'll just, decrease and stuff like that. I often will write it out or chart it out for myself ahead of time so that I don't have to do it every row, think about it. Okay, we'll have to do this. I just rewrite the pattern so that it reverses everything and then follow that. And so that's, I hope that helps a little bit. It's kind of a discombobulated explanation, but oftentimes I just do what I did here. And, where it says cast on for the cuff, knit the cuff, I just cast on for the toe, knit the toe, and then it's like start the pattern, and I just start the pattern. And With socks, I'll keep the stitch count that they have for the top, and if I need to add extra, I add it on the bottom, where, it doesn't really matter. And then when I get to the leg, I just keep those extra stitches on the side and, just knit them or put them into the pattern or something. Stuff like that. So that's my explanation. And I know someone a while ago asked how I learned to knit toe-up socks. And this is a very interesting story. So my first pair of socks, I did the Jekyll and Hyde pattern, which is a very simple texture pattern, but it is written cuff down, and so I knit them cuff down. And but I was so paranoid about running out of yarn, and so I thought, oh, wait, you can knit socks toe up? I'm going to learn that. So my second pair of socks that I knit shortly after that were Hermione's Everyday socks, which I know are very popular, and they are also written cuff down, but I knit them toe up. Yes, my second pair of socks, I reversed them. And what I did was I found a free pattern that was written toe up, and I did the toe, and then I did the stitch pattern from Hermione's Everyday socks, and then I knit the heel from the toe up pattern, and then I went back to doing the stitch pattern, and then I did the cuff from the toe up pattern. So I, in essence, combined two patterns and did it that way. So I don't know if that's the easiest way to learn, but that's how I did it. Sorry, I'm sitting cross-legged on my chair and my foot's falling asleep. As I get older, I realize I can sit cross-legged for less long periods of time than I could when I was 5, which is, okay. It is the way it is. So that's how I learned to knit toe up socks. I hope that helps. I just kind of taught myself from one pattern. I don't remember which one it was either. I probably found some simple, vanilla sock that was written toe up and did that. And for a while I was doing the heel flaps and gusset. I don't mind doing those toe up. I don't remember when I knit them toe down picking up stitches, but I must have picked up stitches along the edge of the gusset. Along the edge of the heel flap. I don't remember doing that because I think that would have annoyed me. I don't mind picking up stitches, but I don't remember, and it wasn't that long ago. I still have the socks. I still wear both of those socks. So if you follow me on Instagram, on Halloween, someone had tagged me, what socks am I wearing? And I was wearing my Hermione's Everyday socks that I knit toe up. And I also did it because I wanted to use all of the yarn. So they're really tall socks. Because I thought, oh, I want taller socks. And then I can use up all this yarn. Because when I finished my first pair, I had so much yarn left over because I turned the heel earlier than I would normally. Just because, that I would normally now. Then I had no clue. But I didn't know how much yarn I was going to need for the foot. And I was paranoid about running out. So I had a lot of yarn left over. So the second pair, I had like 3 yards left over because I knit them toe up. I did at that point split the yarn evenly, and I think I still knit them one at a time. And then I think the next pair I learned how to knit them 2 at a time. So, yeah. It was a lot of teaching myself how to do things. So that is it for Flora and Fauna. From my holiday, someone asked about my cat, Pantaleimon, who is asleep on my chair, the chair I normally record in. Happens to be his chair, as well as my chair. It's his chair during the day, and then in the evening I take it over. So we'll let him sleep in there now. But his name is Pantaleimon, which we usually call him Pan, so that's what you usually hear me call him. And that comes from, Pantaleimon's a character in a book, and it's his Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman. It starts with the Golden Compass, which they did make into a movie. So that's the one you might be more familiar with. It's like a young adult trilogy, but I really enjoyed it. I still really enjoy that book. It's one of my favorite trilogies. And it's based in or it's written in a parallel universe where people's soul lives outside of them as like an animal companion. And the main girl, Lyra, the main character, her animal companion is named Pantalaimon. And so ever since I read that book, I don't know how long ago it was, I really wanted to name a pet Pantalaimon because I just thought that would be really cool. Because I loved the relationship that, you know, Lyra had with Pantalaimon. I mean, that everyone in the book has with their animal Damon. And so when I was looking for a cat a few years ago, I was looking for a cat that I was planning on naming Pantalaimon. And I looked at a whole bunch of cats. I decided one day I really wanted a cat. I've been thinking about it for, years. Because I grew up with cats. And so I'm definitely a cat person. And I always wanted a cat. And so finally it came time when I was like, you know what? I want a cat. Someone to keep me company and such, and someone to talk to and just kind of have a companion around. And so I started looking at animal shelters around the area because I knew I wanted to adopt a cat. And I looked at a lot of cats. I was kind of a little picky. I didn't just want, any cat. I wanted a cat that would, was my cat that would bond with me. And so I looked at a lot of cats and met a lot of cats and played with a lot of cats. And there is a shelter in Chicago called the Anti-Cruelty Society. And I went there one day. I was downtown doing some other stuff, and I went there and played with some cats. But they were closing that day. But there was another, a couple others that I wanted to look at. And they're like, oh, visiting time's, coming to a close. And if you want to adopt one, you have to do it now. And I wasn't really ready to, commit to one. So they said, come back tomorrow. So I came back the next day. And I, played with a couple cats that I was interested in the day before, and they weren't really what I was looking for. I was looking for something that wasn't a kitten. I wanted, an older cat who was more, not as playful. Because I didn't have the time and the energy for a kitten. That's really what it was. Not that I didn't want a kitten, because kittens are adorable. I just couldn't have the time to dedicate to a kitten that I knew that they needed from me. So I want a cat that doesn't require tons and tons of attention from me just because I was still going to school and I just didn't have that kind of energy and time. That, I was like, I don't want to feel bad for the cat that I'm leaving him. Cats are pretty self-sufficient for the most part, which is what I like about them. So it was coming, near the end of the day, and they were like, you have time to kind of, look at one more cat. So I said, well, what about that guy down at the bottom? And they're like, okay. So I brought him out, and he was sitting on my lap, and they're like, okay, well, you got, 5 more minutes if you, do you want this cat? And I kind of looked at him, and he looked at me. I was like, yep, I want this cat. And that was it. I don't know what I've just done. But he came home with me, and he's been my little buddy ever since. And he's definitely, I wanted a lap cat, and he's definitely a lap cat. But he kind of has a mind of his own. He'll sit on your lap if he wants to, not if you want him to. He's not one of those kinds of cats. But he's definitely still has a lot of, kitten energy, even though I got him when he was 4, and he's 7 now. He turned 7 in August. They did know his birthday. I know a lot of cats that you adopt, they don't necessarily know when they were born, but he, I think, just turned 7. So he's still got quite a lot of energy considering that he's 7. He still wants to play all the time. And he does like going outside. We do have a harness and a leash for him, which he thinks is the greatest thing ever. I have the weirdest cat, I swear. He also likes to play fetch, which I should videotape and put on the podcast sometimes. Like hair ties are the things he loves. He will get a hair tie, come and put it in front of you, and then go and wait for you to throw it. And then you throw it, he'll go and get it and bring it back to you, and then wait for you to throw it again. This is like full on fetch. It's ridiculous. He'll do it with rubber bands too, but his hair ties are his favorite. So I can't leave hair ties laying around anywhere because of the cat. What other funny things? He likes to drink out of the sink. And of course now he's thought that the bathtub is similar to the sink. So he now likes drinking out of the bathtub. I'm like, hey, as long as he's drinking water, I'm not going to complain too much. The other really odd thing is he does not like wet food, which is going to be a challenge this week because he has to get some teeth pulled. And I'm like, if he gets teeth pulled, he can't really eat dry food, can he? He needs to eat wet food. So we're going to have to try to get him to like wet food. It's not that he hates wet food, he just doesn't like it. Like, I grew up with my cats. They couldn't get enough wet food. That's all they wanted. They didn't really care about the dry stuff. They're like, I just want the wet food. Whereas he doesn't care about the wet food. He just wants the dry food, which is perfectly fine with me. Then I just get him dry food, and we just leave it out, and he just snacks all day long, and he's not fat, so I'm okay with that. All right, I think that answers all of the questions that people may have about the cat. I may have answered some of them before, but in case you're a newer viewer, that is the entire history of my cat. And do you want to make an appearance? Now I feel like he needs to make an appearance. So let me go get him, which he may or may not be happy about. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. This is Pantalaimon. Say hi. I just woke him up from his nap. So he's not too pleased with me. Hi, buddy. How you doing? Oh. He also likes having his ears scratched, which I think is kind of weird for a cat. Most cats don't like it when you touch your ears. What do you think? What do you think? He's definitely a mama's boy. He likes sleeping on my side of the bed. Mainly, I think, because I'm not as tall as Jeremy, so he can sleep on the bottom of my side. And want to go? Bye. You want to go? Where are you going? That way? Okay. So he can sleep on the bottom and not get kicked as often. I also sleep on my side, so my feet get curled up a little bit. Anyway, I think, I should talk about my sweater. So I did not knit this sweater, if you were wondering. This sweater I got at the Gap yesterday. It is a lovely stripy Fair Isle sweater, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I have a friend that works there, and as soon as she saw this sweater, she's like, oh my gosh, Lucia is going to love this sweater. And of course I went there yesterday, and what did I do? I went directly to the sweater. So that's where this came from. I'm not against knitting Fair Isle, I haven't gotten there yet. I have a lot of other things that I want to do first, but I think one day I will get into Fair Isle. That seems like a really cool thing. But I thought, I don't feel bad buying a Fair Isle sweater if it's not something I'm going to knit right away. Other sweaters I feel kind of bad buying because I'm like, I have so much sweater yarn, I should just knit myself the sweater rather than buy the sweater. So I think I've talked quite enough today, and with that I will bid you adieu and have a great week, and I'll see you on the 12th to kick off the Pins and Needles Challenge. So, bye!